There are some really useful indicators and numbers to look at when checking out polling for the November presidential election, and then there are some less useful numbers. One of the more interesting ones is comparing how Donald Trump is polling relative to how Mitt Romney and John McCain did in 2012 and 2008, especially since they both lost to President Obama. Now, Nate Silver in 538.com, which I'll remind you, in 2012 called the presidential election exactly right, as did I will mention, although it was no great thing to pat myself on the back for. I just looked at state polls and filled in a map with crayons. It was pretty straightforward process. They've released their first election update for 2016. They did this in 2008, they did this in 2012, and they're doing it for 2016. Absolutely fascinating. It's not looking good for Trump. Let's start with red state polling. These are states that were Romney states in 2012. And if you look, for example, Utah, Romney carried Utah by almost 48 points in 2012. Trump is up 3 in Utah right now. That is a plus 45 change in favor of Hillary Clinton versus how Mitt Romney did in 2012. Let's pick another one of these, Lewis, just, for kicks. West Virginia is one where Trump is actually doing better. Romney was ultimately the winner in West Virginia by about 27 points. Trump is up 29 points, meaning he's doing better than Mitt Romney did in 2012. But if you look at this list, in all but 2 of these states, Hillary Clinton in red states doing much better than President Obama did in 2012. Surprising at all on this?
Yeah,
either. Okay. Everybody clearly wants the comment.
It is, depending on the state.
Yeah.
The Utah numbers are surprising.
Yeah,
to me.
I'm surprised by Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm surprised by that as well. But I think what's interesting is that Nate Silver, he was spot on in 2012, but he kind of missed the mark with Donald Trump because.
Well, yeah, but okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's too early to get into this, but because in September he had said that he had roughly a 5% chance in beating the GOP, and now that figure is around 22%. And I think it's interesting because he had laid out the schedule for his collapse, and he used all these dramatic comparisons, and he said that primary voters were kind of unreliable and that there was so much media distortion going on. But this time it was less grounded in math and it was more kind of grounded in emotion and theory.
Well, I fell victim to this as well. I think maybe 50 or 60 times said without a doubt Donald Trump is not going to be the Republican nominee. I was wrong. Yeah, Nate Silver was wrong. So maybe we just can't trust Nate Silver, or maybe we can't trust Nate Silver about primaries, but maybe he's got it figured out for the national elections.
But that's easier. That's always easier, the national election.
Yeah.
Let's look at blue states. We also can look at, let's skip, this is purple. Yeah, so in purple states, it's basically a split, Hillary Clinton and Trump sort of sharing the pie in those blue states from 2012, with the exception of North Carolina, where Romney was +2. But let's go to the next one, Lewis, the blue states from 2012. And you will see that there are also a number of blue states where Donald Trump is doing much better than President Obama did. And that includes Oregon, Washington, Maine, Connecticut, New Jersey, California, and New York. So it is not all good news for Hillary Clinton. Nate Silver's bottom line is, as Rachel mentioned, 22% chance for Donald Trump of winning the November election. Does that even really mean anything to us in July? What is that 22%? What does that mean?
It means, I don't know.
Quite literally,
something.
it means if you run 100 simulations based on the polling, Donald Trump ends up winning in 22 of them and Hillary Clinton wins in 78 of them. That's really what that tells us.
A little bit comforting is what that is.
Depends who you're voting for, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to track it. Certainly not good numbers for Donald Trump among Republican voters. And of course, there's this, we can hypothesize, Rachel, about why this might be. And one of the possibilities is, as a more neoconservative Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton may have more appeal on policy to some of the red states, although it wouldn't necessarily explain why Donald Trump is having more appeal than President Obama, relative to President Obama, in some blue states. It's sort of a confusing conundrum right now.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of kind of not necessarily disconnect, but I guess variability amongst the numbers. And I guess I'm kind of wondering, I feel like in a way there's two opposite ends of the spectrum here when you have certain, I don't know. I honestly think I was mostly surprised that the red states were more, that was the stronghold for Hillary.
Yeah, I don't know why that's more shocking to me than the blue state variability, which I'm sort of convinced will evaporate by the time the election happens. But when you see that Hillary Clinton
That Mormons are voting for Hillary?
when you see that Hillary Clinton is overperforming Mitt Romney in a Mormon state by 40 points, that is the biggest question mark to me.
Yeah, that's what a world we live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Left me at a loss for words.
After the break, we will talk to Bernie voters about why Bernie or bust makes no practical sense. We'll see if I can convince you. Gamefly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees. And our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.